Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, Trevor-The-Timmy. We're going to try something new today, see if it sticks for future sets. We're going to crack some packs, just talk about some of the cards, then we're going to start moving into standard. As I've mentioned before, I'm a free-to-play player, so we're grinding most of the way down in our gems. Got to a good point where we've got over 100 packs just from drafting. That's the way I'd recommend everyone go through. If you're going to try to be free-to-play, it's just do your drafts first, fill out most of the rare slots, and then go through and open some packs. So without waiting any further, let's go ahead and jump into this. If you would, give me a like and a subscribe. Let me know if you have any different ideas for this, or if you like it, dislike it. Okay, so it should be a little bit as we go through. Mostly interested in our rares and mythics. He's solid. Not anything I expect to play in standard. And then we will be moving into standard events too. The War Master. We will definitely try an Elves deck. I've liked him. He's been good in draft with the Shapeshifters as well. Okay, more of the pathways. Definitely need a lot of those. Never unhappy to see those. Saves wild cards from playing standard decks. This has been nuts in draft. So is he. Every time I've had it, it's felt very good. It's hard to race. I could see there maybe being a standard deck that wants it. Just keep gaining life and or drawing cards. Helps you really get to that late game. Don't expect this to see play in standard. It's been good the time I had it in draft. Just eat something while removing something else. Maybe at some point it'll be playable in standard. Okay, Pyre. We'll see if there's enough combination of creatures. I expect this to be maybe older formats. Probably try in modern goblins. Not expecting it to be a standard card particularly. Okay, Mythic Wildcard, not much to say about that. Okay, Rally, if there's ever a one specific creature type aggro deck, could be good. I've seen way too many people try to play it in limited. Definitely do not recommend it in 95% of limited decks. Send in Spirit, we'll give the mono blue snow deck a try. This is supposed to be pretty good in there. Okay. More pathways, love it. If you have any specific decks you'd love to see in standard, definitely let me know too. If there's something we've got most of the cards for, we'll definitely give it a try. Battle, this has been solid in draft when I've seen it. I wonder if it'll be an EDH card, just doubling the tokens. You can also see that happening too. This has been really good for me. I've particularly liked these colors in draft, but just normally drawing a couple cards, plus you're getting a body, and then a mana advantage. I really liked it in limited. I don't expect it to see a lot of standard play. Maybe this will see play in standard. I could see some world with that. It's been okay in draft. You need to be pretty controlling, I feel like, but I don't think we've had any too exciting mythics yet either. Looking forward to some of those. Nice Storm card. Interested to see if that shows up in some of the Eternal formats for Storm. Maybe there's a standard deck with it. Could also see it with some EDH play. This will be interesting to see where it shows up too. A lot of power. You need to find a way to keep your graveyard stocked, but a 6/6 for 3 is no laughing matter. Can't laugh at the god of death. Magda, very good. Also one of the more interesting combos I've ever played against in draft. That video should be out shortly. I definitely recommend taking a look. Excited to try that in various formats. Reflections, I think this will mostly just be an EDH card. Maybe there's some weird combo in standard, but I don't think tapping out for 5 mana and not getting any effect right away is just where you want to be. Rare wild card. We'll take it. Could be anything, even a boat. You know how much we've been wanting those. I don't expect this to see a lot of play in standard, or maybe even any. It's been pretty good in limited. You could also see it being in EDH type formats. It'd been cool if they made it a legendary for that. I feel like it'd be a nice mono black general. Reckless Crew. I don't think you want this in any format. Playing a lot of vehicles and equipment just do not work well together, so I don't expect this to see a lot of play. Another War Master, we'll take it. Again, I expected to see some monoplay in Standard. These have been solid too. Really like this guy. Be a cool general too. Very tough to beat in Limited. A couple of my drafts we've played against it. It's been tough to beat. When we had it, it was very good. Don't expect that one to make any way into Standard. Got a Fright. Lost to this at least twice in draft, probably more. Another one I don't see a lot of home for in Standard. It's kind of nuts in EDH, especially as a general you get pox and those type of effects. I also feel like if you're in a Grixis wheel deck, you just find this most games and then get ridiculous advantage. So try it someday. Good old Binding. Another Rally. We talked about that one already. More Storm. I know we touched on that one already. Kaya had one of those in draft. We ran into the Kaya Mirror too. I can see this maybe a one of in some Standard decks. I don't think that's a lot of what Standard's about right now, but it is a nice grindy card if we ever get to that point. The Elf Planeswalker. We'll see if elves are a deck in Standard. This will be fine. I did see in a couple modern decks it's like a 2 of. I think just the mana advantage is reasonable. If you ever get the emblem too, you're just drawing so many cards. Another Ascendant Spirit. It's good to fill out for mono blue. Where are Vorinclexes and Velkies? Battle of Frost and Fire. Maybe playable in Standard if there's enough small creatures. I expect we have to wait for the 5/5 Lovestruck Beast to rotate out. I don't think doing 4 and not actually killing that is where you want to be. Dream Devourer. Could see some play. I could see there being the kind of the black version of that red or mono red ramp to Ugin deck playing this. Just get Ugin a little bit cheaper. Slow some aggressive decks down a little bit too. Cosmos Charger. I don't think this is going to be playable. It dies to too many spells with 3 but. Maybe it will though. The flash is definitely nice. Mythic Wildcard. I guess that's technically a Velky and or a Vorinclex. Raven's Warning. I think this is in some play in Pioneer as your way to use Luca or the Luca style effects to ensure you get an Agent of Treachery without actually putting creatures in your deck. Outside of that, I don't expect it to see a lot of play. There's our Valky. Love it. Obviously, it's a really good card. Made the rules change around him. Excited to have it. Some financial advice for him looking. I would not be buying Valkyries now for what it's worth. I assume they have to drop a decent amount. With the rule change, I do not think it'll be as dominant. It'll probably be a fine card. But let the supply come out. Definitely do not run out and buy your Valkyries now. Good reminder for any other Standard Mythic 2. For the most part, they're going to be way too high to start, especially if they're taking multiple formats by storm. Like this is kind of abusing a mechanic. They're probably going to ban it, or in this case, errata it. So don't waste your money buying it right away. The free finance tip for today. Battle Mammoth. It was fine. We had a draft. I do not expect it to see Standard play. Quakebringer. If there's a Giants deck, I assume this will stick or be in it. It's cool, kind of having the deal 2 forever. I think it's the Sulfuric Vortex effect. They can't gain life and keeps dealing 2. One-sided, I guess, too. Just as a 5/4 body, though, it's probably not good enough. We got a nice string of mythics going here. I don't necessarily see this seeing play at least until some of the cards from Throne rotate. It's probably, I mean, just being a 5/4, like that's a good body. Don't get me wrong. I think the backside is a little mana intensive for standard play. It does definitely just dominate games though. Another Cosmos Elixir. I'd like to see that with the Karn that searches for artifacts from your sideboard too. In older formats, I think that could be something. I've seen this in various formats. I don't think it's actually that great though. Just needing the first line doesn't really do anything, and then the line bringing it back. So it's limited, I feel like, on what it can do. Maybe in a modern type format where you get a bunch of fetch lands to get the double triggers, but I'm not super excited about it. I don't even know what this would be playable in. Something needing 3 or more legendaries. Like, it's giant if you get to them. Just a 4-mana 6/6. I don't know. I guess 2 other legendaries, but I don't know what kind of deck you're going to be playing that has 2 consistently. If there is something, though, it's a sweet card. Card advantage. It's really big. Maybe someday there'll be enough legendaries that you can just run a bunch of 2 or 3 ofs and then 4 of this and make it work. Very good uncommon. More pathways. Love them. Going to be super playable in standard. Probably a big part of Pioneer. Maybe some other formats a little bit. More elves things. See if we get enough of all the elves to give that deck a run. Mystic Reflection. I don't expect this to be playable in Constructed, but it will be an EDH just staple. If you get something like Avenger of Zendikar with 7 lands, you just respond to the Avenger trigger and copy it, and then you get 7 more Avengers, so you have what should be 49 tokens then. So just nuts. We'll probably try it just for the ridiculousness of it. Same thing with Hornet Queen, just very good. Old Growth Troll, good card. Just a 4/4 that basically comes back when it dies or ramps you. Probably standard in Pioneer play. I assume there's not a mono green aggro deck in Modern, and if there is, it's probably not playing that. Splendid Marshal. I don't expect this to be playable in basically anything. It's fine, but it's basically just a 3-mana 3/3 with some flavor text. Search of Greatness. I feel like this card was super overrated at first. People thought it was going to be in a lot of decks. Maybe in its lifetime it'll show up in something or do something cool. It just has not so far, and I'm not sure if what deck would want it. I'm sure if you can make it work, it's pretty awesome. Probably need a lot of creatures, so when the ETB draw cards would be my best guess. Dragon King Berserker. This is great and limited. I don't think you're going to be activating that a lot in a standard type format. It might just be a default player just because it's a 2-mana 2/2 that they can't really trade with for small creatures. So maybe it'll see some play there. It's awesome if you ever get to activate the ability. Look at that. The rare wild card could be anything. More Reflections. We've gone through that already. I do like those if you're ever looking to purchase a bunch of 50-cent cards that'll go up over time. Oh, good. We got our first Goldspan Dragon. Obviously, just an insane card. Hits for 4, ramps 2 mana right away. If they target it, you also get 2 mana. So it's pretty easy to hold up a counterspell with that. Very good card. Probably also pretty playable in EDH. More Gods of Death. Another battle. If you're enjoying this, please do consider liking and subscribing. This guy's, I assume, not a standard card again, but will be pretty fun in EDH. It's also very good in draft. Won a couple games with it. Definitely lost to it frequently whenever I've played against it. So you just have to try to block or double block, and then any combat trick blows you out. More pathways. Blue-green one's probably not as good as it would have been of recent with all of the blue-green cards getting banned. We'll get our third is Spirit. Playing that mono blue snow soon. Crippling Fear. I think it's very good and limited. You can just basically get a Wrath. I assume it'll be a standard sideboard card. If you are playing like Elves, it's also pretty awesome. So if we give that deck a try, we'll definitely play some of these in the board. This thing has beaten me so much more than I thought it would have. I guess it's very tough to kill with it just being indestructible, both in standard and limited. Played against it a lot in limited, and it grows really quickly. Waking Trolls. I assume that's not standard playable, but maybe there's a world where you're ramping really hard and then making a lot of trolls. We can give it a try at some point. It's a good meme deck, I feel like. Realm Walker, very popular. If you are like an Elves type deck, you can just get a lot of advantage casting stuff off the top of your deck. Probably also a pretty big staple in EDH. We've talked about that already. This guy's very good. Mythic Wildcard. It's another one of our Valkies. Or Vorinclex. Give us another Vorinclex, or a Vorinclex, I should say. Cyclone Summoner. It's been surprisingly bad for me in draft, where I'm unsummoning all the living equipment and just giving them more advantage. It did win a game pretty sweet, but it's really awkward when there's those type of effects. I assume it's not a standard card at all. This is very tough to beat if you're racing at all. Just making everything deal less damage. Probably some standard applications with making Snowlands tapped and then making cards cost more. So if you're playing an aggro deck, they can't just wrath you easily. Cosmos Charger. The Bears. Oh, the Bears. If they're as bad as the Bears football team, just terrible. I thought this card was just complete trash and everything at first. I feel like it probably actually will end up in EDH decks the more I've thought about it. Expect it to be in basically any mono-colored one. So just turn your legendary creature. You can keep giving it +1/+1 counters. So if you have any of those themes, or if you're an aggressive one, thinking about making Skithrax again at some point, just because I do love Infect. Definitely one of those players. So making him bigger is good. And then eventually you can just make him indestructible, which is also pretty good. You tend to want your commander to stick around. Blessing of Frost, been good and limited. I don't expect it to be a standard card at all. I guess maybe if there's a mono green aggro, especially after Throne rotates, maybe as a pump your team card advantage. Maskwood Nexus, again, part of one of the cooler combos I've lost to in draft. So if you haven't seen that, definitely watch that video, or it should be coming out shortly, depending on when you're watching this video. I don't think this is a standard player. Maybe there's a weird combo. I assume it'll be EDH All-Star, just turning everything into the same creature type. So you get all of those bonuses. Probably not a lot going for it other than that. This has been nuts in limited too, when you get to just curve out and make your whole team +2/+2. I assume there's a standard deck somewhere in that. Whether it's good or not, we'll see, but I would definitely give it a try. Maybe Pioneer. I've seen a list going around for Historic too. I do not really play Historic, so I will not speculate much on that. Definitely will give this a try at some point in blue-black control with the card that returns. I think it's the 5-drop from M21 that returns sorcery, so you can just keep going back and forth and wrathing forever. Just a fun little combination. Rare wild card. More pathways. Love those, and you don't have to fill out your waste your wild cards on them. I do keep this open. I like to see where I'm at for progress. If I ever need it, I normally do it right before I go up percentage, just so that way I get an increment of 100. But until I need the wild cards, I like to be able to actually see the vault progress. I wish they didn't have that hidden. More rallies. We're just, you can see with the rallies, it's a card we haven't taken in draft, so pathway. So we're getting more of those. That's the advantage of doing your draft first. Not that you open the crappy cards later, but you fill up what you draft. Basically fill up the slots because you can't get more than 4 in arena. So then you aren't, when you open it later, you just get 20 gems. So it's much more efficient to do it this way. The Kraken, again, probably playable as a couple, in the Bono Blue Snow. Just tap them down, get in and end the game quickly. It was really good the time we had it in draft. We were super in snow then. I don't think you can just lightly be in snow and use that. Another Realm Walker, love it. Give Elves a run one of these days. I really like this card. I think in any of the red aggressive decks, just potentially getting it for free or getting to cast it and then cast something right after it. I really like it with Obosh too, where you can cast this on turn 3 and then put Obosh into your hand. I think that's a really cool interaction. So I'm very high on this card. I don't think it's seen a lot of play yet, but you know how it is with free cards. They get there eventually. More reflections. We need to find a deck for that someday. Another elf card, or if there's a berserker deck, I suppose. Just basically forces them to kill this first. So if you have any more high value elves. Ooh, the good old make a bunch of angels. I'm not sure. There could be a standard deck where this is played in. Maybe we try some kind of Esper Yorion angel deck at some point too. I don't know that it'll be a huge player in standard, but I could see it being there. Ooh, just return all of the creatures. If there's like a goblins deck or some creature deck, maybe it'd have to be a mid-ranger creature deck, which is kind of unique too. I suppose like an elves or something, you could play it in a more grindy matchup. Or Cyclone Summoner. Why do you taunt me? Look at that. There's great art too. There's nothing to dislike about the card. Everyone can comment and tell me how terrible it is. Oh, Herald. Look at all these heralds. Herald. Another pathway. I'd be close on pathways. Another mythic wild card. We might make it all the way through without opening an actual Warnclax. Runeforge Champion. I feel like if they ever come back to runes, this card will be reasonable or worth something. Until then, I don't really think it's playable. I think there is the Goldspan deck that uses it and the runes, like a combo deck. Outside of that, I don't know what deck wants it. Oh, Prismatic Bridge. Cool thing I found out about these two is if you're ever looking to buy them in paper, finish out an EDH deck or something, sometimes if you search by just the back name, somebody only lists it. So in this case, as the Prismatic Bridge, like in an eBay, they may just list it as that name instead of the front name. So you can sometimes get them a little bit cheaper that way. So keep that in mind as my cool trick of the day. Maybe there's a 5-color standard deck. Outside of that, I assume people like it for EDH. Oh, this guy. Just being that vampire dragon, beating us down. A rare wild card. We're closing in on the end of this. Good old birthing pod for creatures. Or I suppose they're all for creatures for tribal, I should say. Oh, the bears. More of the bears. Closing in on that last 10 packs. Cosmos Charger. You can tell that's not one we've seen a lot in draft as we keep opening them. The Pathway. And give us that Vorinclex. Or a second Valky. The World Tree. We'll make that work at some point in Standard. We'll play a deck with that. Also, again, saying for a lot of things, but it will be an EDH staple. Any 5-color deck, you definitely want that just for the mana fixing, let alone if you get some cool God synergies. Flourish Protector, just Resto Angel, very similar to Resto Angel. At some point, I assume it sees play. If we get the Thragtusk type creature too, that definitely helps. Obviously, it does work a little different than Restoration Angel, but similar enough. The Moonforge Champion. I think we've got a Vorinclex in his last couple packs. We've got all our spirits. Faceless Haven, that might be the last copy of that we need. That's been just such a standard staple, just going into everything. Okay, Blood in the Snow. Well, thank you for anyone who hung around for this. Definitely appreciate it. Leave me any comments if you like anything like this, if you have different ideas. I just thought it'd be kind of cool to open them all up, talk about what we've seen with them, how we feel about the cards. If there's anything you'd like to see in Standard, we will be starting to play that now, so definitely let me know. Look out for the videos coming. Thanks again for anyone who watched. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and have a great day.